Halloween! The day of the candies, the day of funny costumes, and the day which I am unfamiliar with. I know, kinda shocker, but this is due to cultural differences which I was raised. Or speaking directly, Poland. Not this anthem. Oh, this is a better one. But why? Well, that was for many reasons. It was quite strongly forbidden by the church, treated it as a ritual instead of the event or holiday. But if people didn't care about the voice of the church, they didn't care about Halloween in general, associated it exclusively with the Western culture. Also, I even asked my parents what they thought about Halloween, and they said that they didn't really have any strong emotional feelings about it. However, most interestingly, they told me that they were not even aware of such a holiday until the Soviet Union didn't fall. So yeah, the question why Halloween isn't so much popular in Poland is way political that you probably expected. Although on the other hand, we organize the Day of the Dead, and if you ask, yes, it is also celebrated like in Mexico on November 1st. But it is much more melancholic. Like the whole country. And me. So why I am talking about this? Well, because I thought that sharing such a fun factors would be interesting. And also, despite my little connection to this event, and to be completely honest, my despise to horrors, I am actually a big fan of varied kind of monsters and gothic related things. De facto, I created a comic series in which main characters are dead. And today's title, which we are going to discuss, is perfect for Halloween setting. So hello there, I am Nick, and welcome you into my review of Pumpkin Jack, created by one guy.
One guy?
Yes, by one person, Nicolas Messonnier. Okay, there were other people there who helped with the production of this game, but he mostly made most of the work. So, will the work done by one person live up to the expectations? Based on the Steam reviews, then yeah. But still, I want to review this game before the Night Rat review it first. So, let's start it now. The story in the game is simple, like in most platformers. It tells about wholesome times in the Great Arkansas Kingdom, or as the narrator says, Arkansas. Anyway, the place so peaceful that the devil himself is bored to death.
The end.
Nah, I'm kidding, because evil never dies.
Evil never dies!
So the devil unleashed curse on the earth, which provides various monsters of any kind to prevent boredom. However, people doesn't like when somebody interrupts them by the terror, so they ask for help from their champion, the wizard, who is capable to stop the curse. The devil, displeased hearing of the ending of the chaos, he summons his own champion, a coon artist, called Jack, to destroy the hero of the mortals. In return, Jack will be free from hell and his past misdeeds. And that's how we land on the files, where we get to know the controls and basics of the game. Jack, however, doesn't go on this adventure alone. In his journey, we'll join Sended from Hell Olo, who closely observes whether we are doing our tasks, and also serves us special healing brew as a checkpoint system. And Crow, the cowardly Crow, who helps by attacking at a distance, and even giving us helpful tips in some moments, but mostly talking about dangerous stuff. And speaking of characters, as a self-taught artist, animator and amateur, I adore their designs. Most of them are creative and unconventional, being at the same time quite standard in their approach. Something which I really like and I try to do in my works. My favorite one is probably the creepy mummy.
Oh, I know why. He's a skeleton, like a Marco. He wears a hat, like a Bob, and he's made of toilet paper, like me. Yay!
Thank you, Crush. You are always the best in saving somebody but from oppression. These characters not only look cool, but they also have a cool interactions with each other. During the adventure, characters will comment on events around them or engage in conversation. And the dialogues are really enjoyable to read, giving the characters surprising amount of personality, and to be honest, they are sometimes really funny. Some people won't probably like the fact that dialogues doesn't contain doublage, especially since our showcases feature a narrator who tells the story and the achievements of our anti-hero, and the characters at most utter single sound or babbling. It didn't bother me though. Honestly, I even like it. They reminded me a bit of the older platformers, like from Nintendo 64. Especially since you can click through the dialogues, if you just want to play. In terms of gameplay, Pumpkin Jack is a 3D platformer, and Jack is very easy to control. He's a responsive, performing actions quickly, and has no problem with jumping from one side into another, or even slightly changing it, being able to double jump. Jack is also able to roll, kinda to speed up the movement process, but mainly to avoid attacks during the combat. Speaking of, the battles are quite simple, but requires attention. Jack is equipped with several types of weapons that we can use to fight against admittedly devised cast of enemies. Although the difference in arsenal might seem insignificant, they are rather quite modest. Then their handling is very noticeable. Each weapon functions differently and has different usage, which sometimes encourages us to change a weapon during the combat, especially since we are often fighting with quite a large amount of enemies who attacks at the same time and variedly, some on the close distance and some will be attacks us on range, which force us to be in constant movement. But surprisingly, battles aren't difficult at all, because everything that can be destroyed or killed drops out some green orbs balls that heal Jack. It is easy to recover by multiple of craters, chairs and lamps, but also by frequent checkpoints, which we can quickly restore our health, so we rather have no reason to worry about our condition most of the time, with few exceptions, like boss fights, in which it is harder to heal. By the way, the boss fights are very nicely done, being inventive, in addition requiring different approaches. Also worth mentioning that from them we are gaining new weapons. The game consists of 6 levels, each of them takes place in completely different environment, and they are quite diversifully made. In each of them we come across platforms, structures and mechanics, which make it really enjoyable to go through them. But despite different surroundings, each of them is based on some scheme. Mainly in each of them we have to collect 20 crow skulls and 1 gramophone. In addition, each of locations at certain moment contains breaks, in which we move like horse riding or knight go-kart race or whatever it is, and in which we literally have to use our head for such activities like blowing up dynamites by bombs, or a memory game in which we're looking for 2 tombstones with the same surname. However, these activities make the game repetitive. In each of them there are 2 or even 3 transport sections and 2 in which we have to use the only Jack head. The exception here is a first level, which has 1 sequence with the head and does not contain any sections where we are transporting ourselves, unless we're considering escaping from burning place as such.
Remember, where there's smoke,
There is fire.
Especially since some of them take a while, which can be annoying where we care about time or we intend to speedrun, because the game itself has a counter in the level options that show how long it took us to complete a given level, if we care, but even when we intend to take all the collectibles, because often after finishing such an activity, there is no way to return to the previous part of the level, and although collectibles are not hard to find, it can be tedious to go through the same event minigame again just because we missed an item in the middle or even at the end of the map. As for the collectibles, they serve as a currency for a modest, however nice option to unlock a new clothes that we can buy from the aforementioned mummy, who trades them with the skins of the living people, but only for the crow skulls. The gramophones, I guess, doesn't serve anything, if I'm not mistaken, maybe except from seeing new dances for Fortnite. The music in the game is very cool, it blends great with the locations of the level and manages to give it a light Halloween vibes. Even we will hear a variations of famous songs. With sound effect, I don't think there is a big problem too, in contrary to my video. Anyway, since we are discussing audio, then it is also good to mention about graphics. And although I know I was talking about the characters already, it was in the context more in the terms of design and not of visuals. For this one, I have no rather reservations. It is nice, even very nice. Especially when the game is turned up with various graphic effects. And with all graphic fireworks enabled on my hardware, the game runs stably, maintaining 60 frames per second. At worst maybe losing some 5 of them, but I did not encourage anything critical. I had no problems with optimization. I will also add that the game I was playing both on the controller and mouse with the keyboard, and 2 of them were actually good, although personally I preferred much more console-like variant. Even if you can change keyboard controls as you wish in the settings, some sequences were more enjoyable to go through the controller, and I recommended playing that way if you have such a possibility. Meanwhile, the price might be the problem. The game costs around $30. Euro-dollars, yeah, new currency. You can finish this title in about 6 hours. And that's only if you decided to collect all collectibles. It also doesn't help that the game is quite safe, in sense of sticking to a conventional structure and the norms of the modern platformers, without trying to revolutionize the genre in any way. So for some players it might be an expensive one and done experience. That said, Pumpkin Jack is really solid made game. In fact, I really wish to love it. However, the repetitiveness, concrete schemes, and the lack of some innovation was getting tired of me. But I still really appreciate the level of work that went into this title. And all of this is done by one person. This is really admirable. So, if you like platformers, indie games, and if the game is on sale, then I really recommend it. You may have a nice Halloween evening. But for now, goodbye and see ya tomorrow.
Hello, Mario.